Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It's Jennifer McCollum with the Parent Teens Club. And boy, do I have a surprise for you today. This is Sharon Pope. Hi, Sharon.
Hi.
Hello. Sharon's, oh, you can tell she's somewhere warm right now. Sharon is a certified master life coach. And I have to look down to make sure I get this right, because I can't believe it. 6-time #1 international best-selling author. I've read her book. I know why she's best-selling. Her book is called Stay or Go. And Sharon is here to tell us today about what to do if we're in struggling marriages, and if we're thinking about, should we stay or should we go? And if we stay, what we need to do to recommit, and if we go, how to leave that relationship in a loving manner. And I love the way you teach, Sharon. I invited Sharon to join us in our Parent Teens Club because I think having teenagers sometimes is difficult on a marriage. And this is one of those times when we might be thinking, let's throw our hands up and just, give up. But Sharon has some wise words. So welcome, Sharon. What did I leave out? I know you do so many great things, coaching and your online courses, but maybe you
Yeah,
could
I have
say
books
hello.
and I have courses and I have coaching, all the wonderful things, but it's all focused around helping people get clear about whether they can take their struggling marriage and make it feel good again, or if the only answer is to leave it, and how to do that in the most loving, peaceful way possible, if that's the answer.
And I love that, because sometimes it's not so easy to do that. But when you do have that clarity, right,
Yes.
and understanding, and you're asking the right questions, and you're
Yes.
thinking about, your kids too. So you're thinking
For
about
sure.
those teens. So one of the questions that I had for you is why do teens, maybe the real reason why teens struggle during a divorce, and what we can do as parents if we do decide divorce is the answer. Can you help
Hmm.
us through
For
that?
sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I heard a staggering statistic recently, and it was that 75% of couples that choose to divorce spend less than 10 minutes telling their children about what's happening. 10
Ooh.
minutes. And then we wonder why all the data says that children struggle through divorce. We're not doing it well. We're in pain and we're in turmoil, and we're not doing it well for our children. So we've got to be way more communicative about what's going on. We've got to really be clear before we ever tell the children about what's happening, what is changing for them and what is not changing for them. Because what they want to know is, am I going to be okay?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so uncertainty causes lots of stress and anxiety in an adult and a teen, for that matter. But so we've got to be really clear about what's going to stay the same and what's going to be different before we ever go communicating to the children, right? And then we've got to spend more than 10 minutes talking to them about it. And they've got to be able to know that they can come back to you again and again as they have more thoughts or more questions about it. Doesn't that make sense?
It totally does. And kids are so smart that they pick up on these things. And if we're like 10 minutes, here's what's happening, they probably sensed it coming. So they probably already have a lot more questions for you and want more time. So I love that
Yeah,
that is your suggestion, to just spend time. And would you agree that you need to be really open with your kids about what's
you
happening
do.
too?
I do. I think you do. There's some things in your marriage, obviously, that are private, and kids don't have to know everything,
Right.
right? Like, if there is an affair, you don't have to tell the children that. Because the last thing you want to do is put the kids in a position of where they think they have to choose about who to love. And if I love one, then I betray the other somehow.
Mm-hmm.
They need to know that they get to love both of you freely, right? And so, yes, be open and be transparent, but there are some things that the kids don't need to know.
Absolutely. I think if we're always coming from a place of love and kindness, that that will just automatically help it happen. But sometimes in divorces, there's the resentment and anger, and if we can kind of keep that out of our conversations with our kids, I think it's better for them, right?
Yeah, yeah. I was just talking to a client this morning. She is just paralyzed with having the conversation with her husband because of she is afraid that he is going to go to the kids and say, your mom is doing this. She wants to leave. She's breaking up the family. And I was just like, that is the most destructive thing that you could do to the children. And it's completely selfish.
And
right?
that's a good question. So you're coaching the women. Do you also coach men, Sharon?
I do coach men, but I hired and trained a coach to handle all of that for me. So I have a person on my team that specializes in coaching men. She teaches all the same tools that I teach, but she just handles. Yeah.
And to kind of keep it separate too. So if a couple were considering divorce, they could come to you, and you can have a coach for both both spouses in a relationship.
Yeah, because for sure it is easier when you both have the same tools and you're both sort of in agreement that you want to unwind this as gently and peacefully as possible. Right. What we see most people do is they blow up their marriages. They act out in a lot of anger and venom and hate towards each other for, let's call it, a year or two. Right. And then, by the way, we put that on our children. That, like, now our kids have to navigate. Mom and dad can't be in the same row of church at my wedding. I got to make sure they're at different tables. Your first grandchild's first birthday party, we've got to have 2 different birthday parties because mom and dad can't be emotional adults and be in the same room together, right? Like, because we don't manage it well for ourselves, we put so much on our children. And so that's why we've got to get better. If that is the answer, and that is okay if that's the answer, that the marriage needs to end, let's do it well. Let's do it. We can do better.
That's awesome. We can do better. So let's say you're considering divorce, or you're struggling in your marriage, you're maybe not quite considering divorce yet. What's one question that you can ask yourself? I know you talk about this in your book, and I really wanted to bring this up when we chatted, because it really struck me. You know, what's that one thing you should be asking yourself?
So I ask this of my clients all the time. Is this a marriage that you would like to see your son or daughter in one day? And the reason why that is such an important question is because we all come by our stuff very naturally, right? We learn what love and marriage looks like based upon what we saw at home first, because that's what constitutes normal for us. Right. So when, if mom and dad were never affectionate, we should not be surprised that we get into a relationship that has no affection or connection to it.
That's right.
Right. So we come by what is normal for us based upon what we see at home. Your children are no different. They are learning not from your words, but from their life experience. And so this is how generations, we fall into marriages that look very similar over the course of generations. And so if you wouldn't want this for your son or daughter, you got to interrupt that somehow. You've got to change it. And that's either change the marriage so that it can feel good again, or lovingly release it and go find happiness. Like, and not necessarily, like, I don't mean that in another person, because we have to be responsible for our own, but we can't just stay in the turmoil and think that we're like, oh, but we're keeping the family together. No, they're learning what love and marriage is going to look like based upon your example.
And that one fact hit me so hard when I read your book. And then I think about everything now in my relationship with my husband, and what the kids see and how they interpret a good marriage to be. So that I can't thank you enough for just bringing that one very important question to the forefront for us, struggling or not. I think that is so important to ask in any marriage, for sure.
Yeah, when I ask women this, let's say my clients, and I say, is this something that you would want for your daughter? And they almost always, they're like, because nobody calls me when things are going well, right? No. So their answer is usually, no, I would never want this for my daughter. And it does beg the question then, why are you accepting it for yourself then?
Right? Good question. Okay, I know our time is short together, and I hope that we get lots more time, but I want to ask you one more thing. So tell me another thing you talk about in your book. When your marriage is struggling, you have
Mhm.
three choices?
3 options, yes.
Three options. Let's talk about those three options because I don't think they're what we're all thinking. So
Right.
tell us.
So most people think that their options are to stay or to go. Those are option A and option B, and that's the
Hmm.
only option.
Hmm.
I'm going to propose you actually have 3 options.
Okay.
So one is you commit to, I'm going to do everything I can to make this relationship feel good again. That's option A. I'm going to jump over to option C. Option C is I know that the right answer here is that this marriage is complete from my perspective, and I am going to line up with that decision and create the best and happiest life for myself that I can. Option A and option C. What most people choose is option B. And option B is I'm staying in the struggle, I'm staying in the turmoil, I'm complaining about it, I'm super unhappy. It tends to just get worse and worse. We've had the same fights over and over again. I never really take a step in any one direction. I don't leave and I don't really recommit to staying. I don't try to make it better. I don't do the things that it would take to make it better, right? So we just stay in option B. Most people stay stuck right there. And so what I'm proposing is like, don't choose door B. Don't choose option B. Like if you're going to stay, then do the work to make it feel good again.
Right.
If you're going to leave, you can line up with that decision as well.
Great advice. Now, we didn't talk a ton about teenagers, but I really think it's all about whatever stage you're in your parenting. And all of
Mm-hmm.
these questions are so good. And these three options, yeah, let's just, let's think about those, A, B, or C, and choose one. So
Yeah,
thank you.
I even said it to a client this morning. I was like, don't you choose option B.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah,
you can line up with any decision and there's relief in just making a decision. All the turmoil and struggle and unease is in indecision. So
that's
we've got to get you to an answer that feels good for you and then equip you to line up with that so that you can be happy either way.
That is wonderful. And that's what we want for our kids, right? To be happy in their
Absolutely.
relationships. So,
You know
so
what? The one thing I will say is that like God, we'll walk through fire for our kids, right?
mhm.
We'll do everything for our kids. Primarily, our kids deserve happy parents. So don't fall into the line of thinking that if I take care of myself and my relationship, that I'm somehow taking something away from my kids. You're not. You're adding to your kids' lives when you invest in your relationship.
Can you say that one more time? You're
Yeah.
adding, say it one more time. That's so important. I want to put
You
that
are
on a
at like,
billboard.
yeah, our kids deserve happy parents.
Yes.
So when like when you think about like the average person's day, between work, career, and all the stuff related to kids, we're running them to all the different team things and sports things and making sure they get their homework done or their baths or whatever. Like, just it's chaotic, right? And at the end of the day, you just sort of like fall on your pillow and probably pass out because you're so exhausted,
Right.
right? And so we pour so much love and energy into our children. And so sometimes, though, nothing nothing thrives without any attention to it. And it's the same with our marriages. We can't put our marriage on a shelf and assume that's going to magically thrive. It's not. You can't put your kids in a corner and never interact with them and expect they're going to thrive. They're not. So what I was saying is just when we invest in ourselves and our relationship, we are adding to our children. We're not taking something away from them. We're adding to that because they're seeing how to live a happy life. They're seeing how to be in relationship with a spouse.
That is beautiful. Thank you so much, Sharon. I
You're welcome.
appreciate all your time. I know it's a really, really busy time for you.
Yeah,
If people want to find you, I will provide links to the Parent Teens website where
perfect.
can purchase, stay, or go Sharon's 6-time #1 international best-selling. Oh my gosh.
And I've got another one coming soon. So
I bet you
stay tuned.
do. You've got so much great knowledge, and it's to the point. It really helps, even just asking those questions to yourself and making a decision. So thank you so much, Sharon. I'm honored that you're here today.
Thank you for having me.
And I hope you come back and tell us more. We need to hear more from you for sure.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much. You're very kind.
Thank you, Sharon.
Keep doing the great work you're doing. This is so fun and it's very needed.
I appreciate it. Take care, Sharon. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.